Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our NXT show for the week. Let's jump right into it. The first match is the semifinals in the tag tournament to determine the number one contenders for the Ascension. Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore versus the Vaudevillains. Get a pretty solid match. Surprisingly, Vaudevillains pick up the win. I figured if they were going to win, it was going to be by cheating, but they continue to look strong as a team, as do Kaz and Enzo. Afterwards, we have the Legionnaires come out. They attack Enzo, shave off part of his beard, which he comes out later in a segment, and demands a hair versus hair match against the Legionnaires, which hopefully we'll see coming up at the NXT special, TakeOver Part 2. Which I'll be attending because it's about an hour and a half away from here and it's pretty awesome. Going off of that, we're going to go into our second match of the night. Tyson Kidd versus Tyler Breeze. What started off as should have been a good match. It was abbreviated by Tyler Breeze leaving and purposely taking a count out saying he doesn't need this. I thought it was kind of odd with the character development they've been doing with Breeze at making him more vicious, more violent as of late, that he would do something like this kind of reverts him back into the scared heel role instead of the violent heel role, which they've been trying to play up, which is kind of weird. Tyson Kidd picks up the win. Hopefully we'll see where this is going from that in the next coming weeks, but kind of an odd ending to what should have been a good match. Next up, we have my favorite match of the night, Charlotte versus Becky Lynch. We've seen very little of Becky. What we have seen, she did a little bit of a dancing thing against Summer Rae. However, this was the first time she was able to really show just how good of a professional wrestler she is, instead of a little bit of the goofiness or being in a tag match. She was in there with Charlotte, which is probably the best female wrestler that NXT has to offer, and she held her ground. They put on a solid match. Charlotte picks up the big win. Just another great match in the repertoire of Charlotte. She continues to impress me every time she's out there. Next up, we have Mojo Rawley versus Steve Cutler. Mojo wins in a short, compact match, which seems to be the norm for him with the gimmick they're doing with the stay hyped kind of thing. Kind of reminiscent of the Ultimate Warrior. I did find something that I wanted to mention that I didn't notice until this week. There was a look, he looked in the camera and I was like, wow, he looks like Mojo. Looks a lot like Nikolai Volkov. And then I really thought about it, and I started looking at pictures of both of them. He really does. I mean, it's not identical, but there's sometimes some looks he does that he looks like Volkov. Just digressing, going a little bit off the beaten path there. Mojo comments afterwards about what Bull Dempsey did to him last week, and again, building a feud with those two. Thought it was good. Thought it was a good way to reestablish that Mojo's someone solid, that he's not just hype, basically. But coming off of that, we're going to go into our main event, another semi-final tag team match. The winner will go on to face the Vaudevillains. Kalisto and Sin Cara versus Adam Rose and Sami Zayn. Another one that kind of surprised me with the win. Not that they weren't a good team, but just how the match went. Kalisto and Sin Cara pick up the win. They looked more together as a team. Sami Zayn didn't really get much involved in the match. It just struck me as a little bit weird how it was structured. Again, it sets up for Kalisto and Sin Cara versus the Vaudevillains to determine the number one contender. A good match. I mean, it wasn't bad, just a little bit odd. Just I felt like some of the decisions that were made on the show weren't necessarily with the character of who was in the matches. And I forgot to mention that Triple H came out and officially announced the Takeover 2, which a lot of people have already known for a while. And as a matter of fact, I think they've been promoting it for a while, so we'll get to see that here on September 11th. Should be a good special. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into our top 5 prospects. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying, in order to qualify, you have to be someone that's only on NXT. Anybody that's either straddling the line or has been up on the main roster and came back doesn't count. That means Tyson Kidd, that means Sin Cara, Adam Rose. They won't get into these. Our number 5 is Bayley. We seen her last week. She impressed. She solidified that she was the number 1 contender for the women's championship there. We didn't see much of a presence from her this week, but she didn't slide either, which was kind of, as you'll see as we get later and further along on these, it's kind of a good thing. Number 4, a guy who last week was number 1, Sami Zayn. And I felt, like I said, the tag team match, it was just so weird how they booked it. He barely got involved. He barely got over. It was almost like he purposely took a backseat to Adam Rose. And to me, I mean, overall, I still think he's the best talent they have in the roster right now. I still think he's going to be a major superstar. But it just took me aback how easily it was for him to fade into the background in this match. Number 3, another guy who slipped a bit, Tyler Breeze. Again, just like I said with Sami Zayn, the weird count-out loss is counterintuitive with what they're doing with his character. And it just, to me, it made me think a little less of him, to be honest. Now, our number 2 is a team that hasn't been on the show in a few weeks, the Ascension. However, without them being on the show, the mere fact that there's a tournament just to face them is building their credibility up. So, again, much like Bayley, inactivity didn't really hurt them this week. It kind of helped because, as we've seen with the last 2, inactivities made some people fall, or what happened this week made some people fall in the ratings. Now, our number 1 prospect, the NXT Divas Champion, Charlotte, just every time I watch her, it's almost like I forgot how good she actually is, and then she reminds me that, yes, I am this good. She's growing leaps and bounds, and it's only a matter of time before she's on the main roster, and it's only a matter of time before she's fighting Paige and AJ Lee and Natalya for the WWE Divas title. She's that good, she's that talented, she's that ready. I would not be surprised at all if we seen her lose to Bayley at TakeOver 2 and her move on to the main roster. Basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.